The senator from Utah.
I thank my dear friend from New York. I consider him one of the better senators in the United States Senate, and a dear friend and the person I've always been able to work with. And he's tough, there's no question about that, but so am I, although nobody knows that. I just want to speak for a few minutes on this extender package. It is a bipartisan bill. It took a lot of work to put it together. We had to bring everybody on the Finance Committee together. That's about 25% of the Senate. We all had a chance to bring up amendments, whether they were germane or not, which is the right of U.S. senators. And sometimes we get some embarrassing amendments up here, but that's part of the charm of this body. The fact is that if you just want to have germane amendments, that's not what the U.S. standard stands for. That's not what the rules say. I don't blame anybody who wants to do that, who's trying to push their bill. But let's not take away the rights of members of the Senate. And let's not take away the right of debate that we've always had on this floor that really gives the Senate such charm and also allows everybody to participate and to bring up whatever they feel is right. Now, sometimes we have to call a halt to it. And after days of debate or weeks of debate on major bills like this one, the majority leader may want to end the debate because he feels like it's enough. Well, at that point, but not before, at that point you can fill up the parliamentary tree in order to just get the agreement between the two sides to just a few amendments left. But you don't do it by calling up a bill, filing cloture, accusing the other side of filibustering when there's no intention to filibuster, and then fill up the parliamentary tree so that you as the majority leader can determine who gets an amendment, who doesn't, or what kind of amendments. That's not the way this great Senate is supposed to operate. And it's offensive, and it's starting to get to our side. If we did that to the Democrats, if we were in the majority, you folks would be so upset it wouldn't even be funny. And I think it's time for us to start letting the Senate operate as it always has. We'll get more done. It'll probably be better legislation than not. And frankly, every one of us will feel better about being members of the United States Senate. You know, let's just be honest about it. The Republicans have been given 9 amendments voted upon since last July in the greatest deliberative body in the world. Now, that is just plain ridiculous. It's not right. Now, let's take the House. The House is supposed to be more partisan. In the House, you have a Rules Committee. It's 9-4. Republicans 9, Democrats 4. And it's been kind of the rule, double the number in the majority party and +1. They could stop anything from happening. But in the House, they've had well over 130 amendments, Democrat amendments, since last July. If my recollection is correct on that, and I think it is. Compared to 9 in the greatest deliberative body in the world, give me a break. The fact of the matter is that that's less than 1 amendment a month. You can imagine why our side is so upset about it. And then you get a bill that's as important as the extenders package. It's not $100 billion, but it's about 88, as I recall. There are very important provisions in this bill. There's some I love and some I don't love too much. But we worked it out between the two parties, and we each had our own ideas of what was right and what was wrong. But we worked it out in a bipartisan way, and I want to personally pay tribute to the distinguished chairman of the committee, Senator Wyden of Oregon. His leadership was very much acceptable. And it was easier to work out in the end because he was so open and realized that we had some ideas too. Our constituents put faith in us to make these decisions and to make the tough choices around here. And that means really making them. The democracy functions because the rules allow it to function. And the rules, in my opinion, have been bogged down with partisanship rather than, and protection efforts rather than allowing the Senate to work its will. And this is not how a real representative republic really functions. I think we have to find a reasonable way forward. I intend to work really hard to find that reasonable way. I think we've got to find a way that both Democrats and Republicans can have their voices heard. When we marked up this bill, it was a fair and open process. Both sides had their opportunity to bring up the amendments that they wanted to. And that's why we came up with a bill that is as acceptable as this one is. It was an open amendment process in the committee, and it should be here too. And it was the reason this bill passed on a voice vote out of the committee. Yeah, it took a lot of effort on the part of Senator Wyden, the chairman, and myself, and everybody else on the committee. But we were able to do that. It's important that the American people know why this disagreement occurred today. The only procedural possibility that the Republicans had was to vote against cloture and to make it very clear that we don't like the way the Senate's being run today. We don't think it's fair. We don't think it's right. It had nothing to do with policy. It had to do with how we proceed. And frankly, I think a message was sent today. Now, it is unconscionable to me that members of both sides, Republicans and Democrats, do not have an opportunity to offer their amendments. I might add, it's nice for the majority to say, well, we only want germane amendments, but I never heard that when they were in the minority. They wanted every non-germane amendment they could get that might embarrass Republicans. Now, I personally don't like to see that very much, but it's a right that has always existed in the United States Senate, and it shouldn't be taken away, and it shouldn't be just dismissed by rote. I'm going to do my very best in a bipartisan way with Senator Wyden to work out this impasse, but it's going to have to be fair, and Republicans are going to have a fair shot at having some amendments here. And I hope we get rid of this process of filing a bill or calling up a bill, immediately filing cloture like Republicans are trying to filibuster when there was no intention to filibuster, and then filling up the parliamentary tree to foreclose any amendments unless the majority leader approves. Now, come on, that's not the way the Senate should run. And frankly, yes, it's a little unwieldy sometimes. It doesn't run smoothly sometimes, but that's one of the charming things about the Senate. And it's one of the things that will bring us together if we can occasionally recognize that we have different points of view. The Republicans are more conservative, there's no question about that. And the Democrats are more liberal, there's no question about that. Actually, I find that to be probably a good thing in many ways because both sides have to try and work it out. But you can't work it out if you can't call up amendments. And if it's a stilted process that's determined only by the majority leader. Now, I'm going to do everything in my power to get this resolved. I already chatted with Senator Wyden, the chairman of the committee. He says that he's going to do the same, and I know that that's true. He's an honorable man. And we're going to see if we can come up with a way of bringing both sides together so we can pass this bill. And hopefully it'll be an example of what we can do if we're willing to work together. But we got to get rid of these procedural approaches on every bill. Sometimes it's appropriate to use any procedure you want to on some bills that should not see the light of day. This is not one of those. This is a bill that has to see the light of day. This is a bill that will make a difference in this country. This is a bill that virtually everybody in this body wants to a more or less degree. Some want it very, very much. And this is a bill that really needs to pass. And this is a bill that hopefully, when the House passes their bill, we can get together in a conference and work it out like big boys and girls should. But what we've been going through here now for 4 years, really, has been a disgrace. And I think it's time to end the disgrace and get all of us working together, not necessarily in agreement. Sometimes we've got to fight things out. but working together in a way that is fair to both sides. So far, our side feels it hasn't been fair to the Republican side, and there's been too much assertion of power in a wrong way, in derogation of the rules, and it started long ago, but it really came to a full culmination when the majority broke the rules to change the rules. Now, one reason they were able to do that is because many on the other side have never been in the minority in the Senate. I'm going to do everything in my part to see that my friends on the other side have that wonderful experience, because then they'll understand why these rules were made to begin with. The filibuster rule in particular was formulated because they couldn't get anything done in the Senate. And it was a way of invoking cloture and ending debate so you could get the matter over with. And it has worked amazingly well, in spite of the fact from time to time you couldn't get bills through that you wanted to get through. But there was a reason for that rule. And to break the rules, to change the rules, was the wrong thing to do to begin with. And it's caused a lot of bitterness on the floor. Now, I've heard some Republicans saying, let's stick it to them. I'm not going to allow that to happen. I hope the same is true on your side, because I've heard that some of the Democrats are saying, well, let's stick it to them with some special amendments. Let's try and get this done in a way that is meaningful. Let's try and get it done in the best interest of the American people, and let's try and get it done so that all of us can hold our heads high and say, my gosh, we did our best. And if we'll do that, I think we'll have a new day in the Senate that literally, I think, will work in the best interest of everybody. I don't want my side treating the Democrats the way we've been treated. I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. I think it's a big mistake. With that, Mr. President, I suggest the absence of a quorum.